What's up, everybody? Welcome back. Mike here for ironinfidel.com. And as you can see, a little bit of a different look today because you can see my toys behind me. We're out of my shop because the range I normally use is closed today for some upgrades. But I've got a video that I've been wanting to do for quite some time. And to appear a little bit smarter, I decided to wear my glasses for this one because today in my little Rush 24 511 bag right here, it's like the best trick or treat bag right there because I've got 5 of what I think are probably the best choices out there in the market right now between duty pistols. Not an exhaustive list. I know people love to say you missed this one or that one. There could be more to this series of videos, right? These are just 5 that I've got thousands and thousands of rounds on and that I would personally carry and I think are worth looking at when it comes to you spending your hard-earned money on a pistol, whether it's for personal, duty use, security use, or whatever you want to use it for. All right, so I'm gonna dig in my bag of treats right here and we're gonna get my personal biases out of the way first. In the way of this one right here, the Walther PDP. This hands down to me is one of the better striker fired pistols out there in the market. And yes, today is gonna be all about striker fired pistols. We'll add some hammered stuff in another video. But the PDP was one that I did not expect to like as much as I did. And there's a lot of really good stuff about this that we're gonna talk about. Not an exhaustive or full review on any of these pistols. Those full reviews are out there, but this is more about the features and benefits of these things rather than a full review. Let's start off with the grip angle of this thing. So the Walther PDP series has a much more neutral grip angle, but still gives you the modern options you want and in the way of a interchangeable back strap, so you get multiple different sizes, so you can custom fit this to your needs. You're also gonna get a nice single undercut with a very wide bellied trigger guard, a very nicely knurled and large magazine release, which I am a huge fan of. There are some options on here that are not factory, so as we go through these, bear that in mind. I have done some custom stuff to most of these pistols, but in their stock factor, they're great. Right out of the box, they're gonna do everything you need them to. Moving upstairs, you've got an ambidextrous slide stop slide release. You've got great slide serrations, both front and rear. Optics ready via a plate system. Out front here, you've got a multi-slot accessory row, which is always a positive if you're gonna use this for law enforcement, military, security, self-defense, home protection, whatever you wanna be able to have a light on there. And probably the best thing about the PDP to me is the trigger. So the triggers that come in the Walther, the curved one, are flat out the best striker fired triggers me personally have used in a duty style pistol without going to the aftermarket. Now, other pistols have copied the PDP and the Walther trigger and put them in their guns and done some polishing work and things like that and some spring changes. But when it comes to a straight out of the box duty rig, I think the PDP has probably the best trigger out there. All the materials here are gonna be good. Okay, when it comes to the main manufacturers, you're going to get really good materials, whether it's the polymer they're using, the steel on the barrel, the steel on the slide, all of it is going to last you tens of thousands of rounds and years of use. Now, while we're talking about the PDP, let's talk about something, the bore axis. So if you don't know, the bore axis is the height right here of the slide over your hand. That's called the bore axis, the center line of the bore, right? Some people are under the impression that if it's a little bit taller here that you just can't control the pistol. You can't run it out there fast. That is not true. 90% of that is gonna come down to your grip and how you're able to control recoil with just about any pistol out there. Now, does a higher bore axis maybe recoil slightly more than others? Yes, again, you can overcome that with grip and how you actually work that pistol out on the range because you're supposed to work the pistol. You're not supposed to let the pistol work you. Now, a pistol that needs no introduction, that's gonna be the Glock 17. This is the Gen 5 version of this. I think we all know this is probably the most widely duty carried pistol out there, the Glock brand name. Some love it, some hate it, some love to hate it, and some hate to love it, right? But there's a lot of good stuff. I'm not the hugest Glock fan, mainly for the grip angle, because it's about, I think, 21 degrees. Correct me in the comments if I'm wrong. So that makes you force your wrists down a little bit more like that, which isn't comfortable for me. But there's no denying the reliability, the durability of the Glock and the fact that you can just accessorize this thing any way you want. But you get a lot of good stuff with a Glock pistol. You get those interchangeable back straps for a little bit more of a custom fit. A ton of aftermarket support should you want to change things. On the Gen 5, you get ambidextrous slide stop slide release, so my left-handed people out there can work that slide from either side. You do get a trigger that is not great, okay? But after you shoot about 5,000 rounds through it, it does get a little better. The trigger guard is a little small, You do got a single undercut. People do complain about getting something called Glock knuckle. You can look that up. Out front, you have a single slot accessory rail. On the Gen 5s, they did go to the Picatinny size rather than the Glock smaller size, so that is nice. You get front serrations, rear serrations, and it's optics ready via a plate system. So the Glock pistol is solid, but there are a lot of things you can do to it to make it better. Glock themselves has now come out with a performance trigger that you can add into this pistol and make it a little bit better. However, these pistols have been out there in the world in use in austere environments, from the military to law enforcement to security, and millions of everyday carriers, and they have just proven themselves to be one of the better pistols out there in the market. Since we're on the topic of Glock, let's talk about a cloner, because if you don't know, the Glock Gen 3 patent came up some time ago, so other companies can now make effectively a clone pistol. And one of the best ones out there, in my opinion, is the Shadow System setup right here. Now, this is the new model, the XR920P. So it is flush comped, but it's on a 17 size frame with a 19 or Glock 45 length slide with that non-threaded barrel comp that's on there with a locking system, a gated system. These things are really just tricked out duty pistols, okay? This pretty much gives you everything that people do to the aftermarket in the pistol right out of the box. You get a little bit of a more neutral grip angle. You get a mag well from the factory on this one, interchangeable back straps, a little bit of an extended beaver tail, a little bit more of an aggressive magazine release. You get front serrations, rear serrations up here on the front of the frame on both sides. You're gonna have ledges that you can grab like this. And once you press out, that's gonna not only give you some texture there to keep your thumb on, but a ledge to help you control that muzzle rise. You're gonna get a better than factory trigger, but this is still meant to be a duty trigger. It's gonna be 4.5, 5.5 maybe. Although I will say the newer models have some changes to where it seems to be more to 4 to 4.5 pounds from what I have tested. You're gonna get a single slot accessory rail out front, serrations across the top, of course that compensator should you go with the P version. One of the really cool things about Shadow Systems is the integrated direct to slide optic mount. So they've got a shim system going on here and multiple screw holes in there. So you mount the optic direct to the slide. You're also gonna get factory night sights that are some of the best in the business, in my opinion, which is gonna allow you to use your factory iron sights with your optic. The one style of optics that I know of that doesn't fit, that's the major footprint, is acro. So if you're running acro, you do have to get a acro plate to put on this, but pretty much everything else from a Leupold, RMR, RMS, all that stuff, it's gonna fit on here direct to slide with that. Now, the other cool thing about this is you get double undercuts on the trigger guard right there. So that's gonna allow you to get higher up. It's gonna be more comfortable on your hands. And ultimately that trigger guard is not going to give you the Glock knuckle that some people out there do complain about. So overall, a very solid pistol, one of my favorites. In fact, this is what I've been carrying every day for, I don't know, the past couple of months since I've actually got it. Got a couple thousand rounds through it, and I am absolutely loving the thing. Let's talk about another new one, and that's going to be the Springfield Armory Echelon right here. So this thing came out and hit the market like the proverbial sledgehammer, because it's pretty much giving you every option that people were asking for right out of the box, but it comes in at the same price point as a brand new Gen 5 Glock MOS, which is pretty crazy. Let's talk about what we get this thing. We get improved grip texture all the way around. There's no gaps in the grip texture here. You get those back straps you can change, you can fit it to your hand. There are multiple different grip module sizes, small, medium, and large, because one of the coolest advancements in this pistol, it's a chassis system. And you can swap that chassis or central operating group, the COG is what Springfield Armory calls it, from grip module to grip module. And I know there are some aftermarket grip modules coming as well, but that's huge because as they start to come out with different length slides, you're going to be able to have multiple pistols with only one serialized part in there, and it's gonna save you some money. You get ambidextrous controls all the way around. Slide stop, slide release, magazine release, double undercut with texture underneath as well to give you a little bit more something to grab onto. The takedown lever on the side is going to be textured with a ledge. You've got a forward ledge with the same texture out front, left and right. So whether you're left-handed or right-handed, this pistol is gonna work for you. Out front, you have that multi-slot accessory rail so you can put all of your light laser and mini bayonet needs. The factory slide will have front and rear serrations. You will have these like large cocking lugs on the front, right in front of the barrel, and on the rear to help you work that slide if you come over the top and work the slide that way. You do get great metal night sights right out of the box on the Springfield Armory Echelon, and overall, if you look at this thing and compare it to a lot of other pistols out there in the market, they've given like literally every option that most people search the aftermarket for, whether it's stipple jobs, accelerated ledges out on the front of the frame, slide work. And the last really key point on the Echelon is going to be a direct to slide multi-fit optic system. So if you have your RMRs, loophole delta points, things like that, most of the major footprints go directly to the slide via a small pin system and they screw right to it. The only one, just like the Shadow system, if you run an Acro or an MPS that has the Acro cut, you've got to run a plate on here. But that is awesome because it gives you the ability to use your factory metal night sights that come with this pistol. So you're not spending an additional 100, 150 bucks on sights once you decide to run a certain style optic. And last up on the list here is going to be the Smith & Wesson M&P. As you can see, I've got some good stuff done to this thing. I've had it for a while. I actually carried this pistol for some time, but there's a lot of really great stuff when it comes to the M&P. Let's start off down low on that grip. The best grip texture in the game, in my opinion. It is that sandpaper aggressive yet not abrasive texture. I'm a huge fan of that because when you are shooting this thing, especially in a hot, sweaty state like Arizona or somewhere in the South where it's humid and your hands are slippery, or say you've got something on your hands, you're out there training hard and you've got some gun oil or something, you're not gonna lose control when it comes to grip texture like this. Interchangeable back straps for a custom fit. You do get ambidextrous slide stop, slide release, a single-sided safety. You get front serrations, rear serrations, multi-slot accessory rail. And in the new models, the flat face trigger that comes in them from the factory is actually really solid. They are optics ready via a plate system, and they have absolutely a metric buttload of aftermarket support, as you can see here on mine with all the stuff done to it. Again, just because I have something on my pistol doesn't mean it wasn't good out of the box. I just try things out to see how they go. But there's a lot of support out there for the M&P, which is usually a good sign because that means that's going to be a successful pistol out in the market. The M&Ps are widely carried in law enforcement. They've been widely tested. They do quite well. So they are very known for their durability, reliability, accuracy. There are just a lot of people out there carrying the M&P pistols for duty, for security, for self-protection, home protection, and just to have fun with out on the range. But they are just absolutely solid, feature-rich pistols out there in the market today for about the same price as everything we've talked about here today. The only real standout on price point here today is going to be that Shadow Systems XR920P, which is basically a full custom race setup out of the box. And those things are going to be about $250 to $300 more than the M&P, the Glock, and the PDP. Now, I don't know personally what you carry or what your choice would be out of these, but when I think about these, the options they come with out of the box, and I include in price point, the one that's probably the most feature-rich out of the box for the price is going to be the Springfield Echelon right here. Now, the only difference between this one and say some of the others, this one is still very fresh to the market. It's not as proven, it's not as well known, so we will see how it fares over time. However, if you go option for option and price point to price point, it seems to be the best value out of the box of what you get. Now, if the reliability and the durability stays there, especially since it's that chassis system, so when they come out with shorter slides and grips, you can have a compact and a full size for basically the price of like 1 1/4. It's gonna be tough to beat that pistol. And I hope the other pistol manufacturers keep fighting and adding options and giving us good price points so we can purchase what we want and need out there. But let me know what you guys carry in the comments down below, even if it's something that wasn't on the list, because again, this wasn't an exhaustive list. Make sure you check out ironinfidel.com if you need fitness gear or a battle bottle, because you gotta stay healthy, you gotta stay hydrated. You guys keep doing it out on the range.